The Ayatollah thought that he was safe, but the F-15 had different plans. And we have seen America recently that they are going after, the Venezuelan president, then they are going after the Iran president. And recently, because recently Khamenei's funeral got a lot of attention publicly, and everybody is, in Pakistan and India, some parts are celebrating, or you can say mourning the death of Khamenei recently. So I want to see, like, how did America do that?
And recently I was seeing a video where I saw his house where he used to live, and it was simple as that. But the fact that I was shocked about that there were already very, dangerous attacks on his house, and then
Oh.
he must have very much security around it. Then how is it possible that he was attacked?
Really, very, very crazy. But it is like America they are going against. So let's watch this.
Video.
February 28th, 2026. The supreme leader of Iran sits inside his Tehran
Was his house
compound.
this big?
No,
Ayatollah
not at
Ali
all.
Khamenei meets with his highest ranking officials. He sits with his closest advisors. He believes he is perfectly secure. He couldn't be more wrong.
Yeah.
Hundreds of miles
so
away,
much
a squadron
in
of Israeli
space.
fighter jets is already burning through the morning sky. The supreme ruler of a 92 million person nation has exactly 2 hours left to live.
Oh,
This is how the
He
US
doesn't know
and
about the
Israel
countdown?
took
Not
out the
at all.
Ayatollah. Decapitating an entire regime requires flawless mathematical precision. Plunging a heavily armed country into chaos requires months of cold, calculated planning.
Months of planning.
At
Definitely,
6:30
it's
a.m.
not easy.
Israeli time, the sun broke over the Middle East. A strike package took off and set a direct course for Tehran. The spearhead of this attack.
so they
was
went
the
for an
F-15
early morning
Eagle.
attack.
Oh.
It may be a 50-year-old machine, but continuous, obsessive upgrades have transformed it into an apex predator. Twin
F-15s.
engines generate enough thrust to push the heavy jet past Mach 2.5, or well over 1,900 miles per hour. The F-15
Straight.
can climb straight up. It can point its nose at the stars and accelerate
Whoa.
vertically against gravity. State-of-the-art radar acts as a digital
The engineering is
sniper
next
scope.
level on
The
this.
Eagle can spot and destroy enemy aircraft long before they ever appear on the visual horizon.
Ooh.
Eagles normally carry a vast arsenal of short-range munitions, but on this mission they weren't hunting other planes. They were hunting
They
a
are a
man.
man.
Under the
One
wing hung
man.
dozens of Sparrow missiles. Built by Rafael Advanced Defense Systems, the Sparrow is a highly advanced air-launched ballistic weapon. When a pilot pulls the trigger, the missile does not fly straight. It violently pitches upward into the upper atmosphere.
Oh.
A lethal combination of military GPS and inertial navigation then guides a hypersonic fall back down to Earth. A pilot
New
can drop a Sparrow
generation
from over
missile.
600 miles away, 1,000 kilometers of dead space, and the missile will hit a target the size of a dining room table. It's terrifying.
Dining room
undeniable
table is
precision.
huge.
Loaded with dozens of these kinetic
But very
executions,
small for
the
a missile in the
Missiles.
atmosphere.
The flight to Tehran took a little over 2 hours, but the target was functionally immortal. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was not a foolish man. To the United States and Israel, he was public enemy number one. To the Iranian people, he projected invincibility. He claimed killing him would barely slow the momentum of the Islamic Republic.
Oh, he
Behind
wanted to
closed
be like,
doors,
okay,
the reality was different.
no problem, kill
He
me.
ordered the construction of 2 separate underground bunkers beneath his
But he
fortified
must be at a
compound in
safe
Tehran.
place
They
already.
were buried so incredibly deep beneath the earth that reaching the blast doors required a specialized elevator. The ride from
Okay.
the surface down to the bedrock took upwards of
5
5
minutes?
He mirrored the
What
tactics
bunker?
of his old ally.
When I go in a normal building elevator, I'm like, will it stop or not? I'm terrified. But he goes inside underground bunker and he's not terrified for 5 minutes.
It's way too long.
But he's very secured.
He
Yeah, it's
retreated
very
into his
deep.
bunker
But
every
that just
single
tells me,
evening.
like, how
He
did
only
US kill
emerged
him?
into the
Yeah,
surface
that's
level
the
officers
question.
During the light of day. Then the 12-day war of June 2025 changed everything.
The D-Day.
Israel executed a massive surprise assault on Iranian military and nuclear facilities. They killed major military commanders. They eliminated top-tier nuclear scientists.
Oh god.
Following the bloodbath, Khamenei became a ghost. He
Now he
vanished
knew.
from the public
Yeah.
eye. He spent almost all of his time buried deep underground. Israel and the United States faced a brutal tactical reality. They knew they would not get many opportunities to eliminate the Ayatollah. The target was extremely paranoid. There would
There
only
is no
be brief
chance.
microscopic
Exactly.
windows of opportunity where he'd be exposed above ground and within their sights. They had to
Oh, very
calculate
less
when those
chance.
rare windows would emerge. They had to put the necessary plans in place to strike the second the ideal moment arrived.
How will
For
they
that,
do
They
it?
needed data. For several months, the Israeli and American intelligence services launched a suffocating surveillance operation. They set about learning as much as they possibly could. They didn't just watch Khamenei. They tracked his staff, they stalked his security
A
details, they
huge
mapped his
tracking
close
program in
associates, they
itself.
monitored his advisors, they
Damn.
catalogued his
They
family
tracked
members, they watched
everyone
every
related
other
to him.
important Iranian official
Whoa.
that entered his orbit. They mapped every hour of his life, his daily
Every
routine, and his
hour of
compound.
his life?
They needed to
Even
pinpoint
I
the
have not
perfect
mapped
date,
my
time,
hour
and
of
place
my
to
life.
strike. They had to guarantee that when the opportunity presented itself, their strike would be flawless. Failure was not an
Whoa.
option. Using
Not an
classified
option.
tools, Israeli agents hacked directly into the traffic cameras across Tehran.
What?
They focused on the ones situated along Pasteur
How did
Street,
they do this?
where
I
Khamenei's
don't know.
compound was located. This digital hijack gave them permanent eyes on the ground. They tapped into real-time visual feeds.
They
of
are
the
in
area.
Israel, they
could
have
see
cameras in
exactly
Iran.
Who was coming and who was
Yeah.
going at any given moment. Over months of silent observation, the intelligence agents of Israel's Unit 8200 built up a detailed picture of the area. They knew everything about it. They mapped the most minute
They
details.
need
They
this
logged what routes the
details.
compound's drivers and bodyguards took to get to work. They recorded what hours they were on duty each day. They tracked who they were assigned to guard. They even mapped the
This can
specific
take a
places where they liked to
decade.
park their cars. A former CIA veteran explained the psychological reality of this operation. It's like a giant jigsaw puzzle. You're putting all these scraps of information together. Where you lack reliable data, you look further into those gaps. It will be everything. How do they get food? What happens to their trash? We all get up and go to bed.
What?
We all eat and drink. Everything you do.
That's
leaves
like a
print.
possessive boyfriend.
Israeli agents hacked their way into the local cell phone towers in the area around Pasteur Street, Union officials and their staff, in order to learn more about their movements. They collected huge quantities of raw data and fed it all into complex algorithms to automatically spot patterns. The machines painted a crystal clear, detailed picture of the enemy headquarters.
It's like
The
movies.
United
Yeah,
States
a
Central
3D model
Intelligence
of it.
Agency was equally relentless. The CIA used its own classified assets and technologies to keep close tabs on the Ayatollah. They tracked his movements, his meetings, and his deeply entrenched habits. They learned everything they could about how he lived, who he met with, and precisely when he was most likely to emerge from hiding. Days, weeks, and months went by.
Exactly. How
They
much
were
time?
just
The
tracking
world's
him.
greatest intelligence forces watched from the
Wow.
shadows as Iran's officials went about their business. The agents patiently bided their time. They were waiting for that one
So
window
much
of opportunity
patience.
that would at least enable them to orchestrate a successful strike.
That one
Then they
moment.
spotted an anomaly. Israeli intelligence learned that Ali Khamenei was scheduled to attend a major meeting. A large
This
contingent
happened.
of top-tier Iranian officials was gathering at his surface-level compound on February 28th. The target list was staggering. Mohammed Pakpour, the commander-in-chief of the
Pakpour.
Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Aziz Nazizadeh,
defense
the Iranian
minister.
defense minister. Admiral Ali Shamkhani, the head of the country's
So they
military
killed
council.
all of them in one
Saeed
time?
Mousavi, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Aerospace Force commander. Mohammad Shirazi, Iran's
One
deputy
bullet, 10
intelligence
shots.
minister. Even the Ayatollah's direct family members were exposed. His son Mojtaba and his daughter Boshra, along with their spouses, were all expected at the same location. The CIA
Oh.
reportedly secured a vital human source on
How
the ground.
could they do
This
this?
asset confirmed the meeting was moving
They had a
ahead on
spy.
schedule and as planned. Some intelligence experts have suggested that a deeply
God.
embedded mole existed within the Ayatollah's inner circle, someone who eventually decided to
But-
betray him.
Oh,
Regardless of how they secured the intel, this was the moment the US and Israel had been
You know, we
waiting for.
recently had a movie about, an Indian spy in Pakistan, Dhurandhar.
Durandar. Yeah.
So that movie got crazy views and crazy likeness in India.
Yes.
But this is next level craziness. It's like, a man staying with the other country's prime minister for so many years and the prime
betraying.
minister does not know about it.
Exactly, this is a nightmare for them. And how could they do in even such situations? The whole family, they are staying under the same place and all the officials in a single place.
Crazy.
Wow.
This was their golden opportunity. They could permanently cripple the country's entire leadership group in
Yes.
one violent swoop. They simply could not afford to miss. It was a once-in-a-lifetime shot. They had
Golden
already been
opportunity
quietly
it
putting
was.
plans in place for an attack on Iran. Originally, they planned to begin their assault at night under the cover of darkness. But this new opportunity shattered that strategy. Mere days before the operation was set
Yeah,
to
they said
launch,
it was
the
in the
US and
morning.
Israel
Damn.
completely adjusted their tactical plans. They scrapped the night raid. Instead, they would attack in the bright light of day. They chose the moment the Iranian officials would least expect them. As the fatal launch date drew nearer, Israel and the US kept their plans a fiercely guarded secret.
How?
They could not run even the slightest risk of their true intentions being leaked. If the Iranian regime caught even a slight sniff of what their enemies
He will go
had
down.
planned, the February 28th meeting would be instantly cancelled. The Ayatollah would be swiftly secured deep inside his underground bunker.
Bunkers.
He would be placed far beyond the reach of even the mightiest Israeli ballistic missiles. The US and Israel successfully kept every piece of information tightly under wraps. But daylight created a fatal vulnerability. By the time the Israeli jets entered Tehran's airspace, the morning was proceeding exactly as planned. Various high-ranking Iranian officials had already
All of
arrived at
them
the Khamenei
arrived.
compound. The sprawling complex was made up of multiple heavily fortified buildings. It included the offices of the Iranian presidency. It housed the National Security Council. The supreme leader himself operated out of a separate structure. Many officials were gathered together.
So
in
which
one
of
the
these
main
buildings
buildings.
had him?
Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was isolated in his separate office.
Still in a separate
This
office.
was at 9:30 a.m. local time. The physical separation of the targets did not matter in the slightest. The Israeli fighters carried enough Sparrow missiles to raise the entire compound
Oh.
straight down to the bedrock. The Iranians never saw the executioners coming.
So they
They
wanted
had
to
spent
destroy
decades
all
being
the
relentlessly
buildings.
trained to expect attacks in the evenings or overnight. None of them expected their sworn
Of
enemies to
course,
orchestrate
it's
a
breakfast time. You don't
decapitation
attack that
strike in
time.
broad
Yeah.
daylight. But a daytime strike forced a major issue. If any civilian or guard spotted the inbound threats, they could make a single phone call. The Ayatollah takes his 5-minute elevator ride. The mission is a failure.
Yeah.
Months of planning and years of intelligence would be wasted. The US and Israel needed total radio silence on the ground. Israeli and US intelligence agents simultaneously launched a digital kill switch.
Oh.
They weaponized their control over local
They
cell
destroyed
phones.
their
They
controllers.
Yeah, so
Disrupted
they could
all
not just
digital
communicate.
service in the area surrounding Pasteur
signals.
Street. They choked the network with dead static. Even if a panicked guard tried to desperately call security teams to warn them of an impending attack, even if they tried to reach Khamenei's elite bodyguards, they
They could
simply
not.
would not have been able to get through. They digitally shut down the entire neighborhood and the
Oh.
invisible trap snapped shut.
Whoa.
At 9:40 a.m., the kinetic strikes began. The high-altitude fighter jets fired their payloads. Dozens of advanced Sparrows sped directly toward the Khamenei compound.
That is so
at breakneck
scary.
Speed. In a matter
Who
of seconds,
knew?
several of these precision air-to-surface missiles
gone.
successfully made contact with their targets. They instantly transformed concrete buildings that had stood strong for decades
Into
into
bricks.
piles of smoldering rubble. Oded Ilam, the former head of the Mossad counter-terrorism division, summed up the terrifying reality of modern
60
warfare.
seconds.
60 seconds.
everything
That's all
was
it took for this
gone.
operation. But it's the product of years in the making. The modern battlefield is no longer defined by tanks and aircraft alone. It's defined by
Whoa.
data, access,
This
trust,
is
and
true.
timing. 1 minute can change a region.
Actually.
And so it definitively
See,
did.
wow.
Gigantic plumes of thick black smoke choked the air. Civilians across the surrounding areas watched the destruction in shock and fright. In the blink of an eye, Khamenei's legendary compound was erased. The space that had been a safe refuge for him and his officials was gone.
Everybody
So
was
Khamenei
gone in a
himself.
blink.
Those few inside the compound that had miraculously managed to survive the initial salvos scrambled wildly to find shelter. Khamenei's son, Mojtaba, was one of those.
He
statistically
survived.
missed.
Survived.
He had stepped outside for a breath of fresh air mere moments before the ballistic missiles arrived. He suffered a severe leg injury. He lost his father, his wife, and his
All
own son in the
together.
blast. He managed to drag himself out of the rubble alive. Ali Khamenei himself had zero chance of survival. At the age of 86, his life came to a sudden, violent end alongside many of his closest and most important officials. In a single strike, the head of the Iranian state was cleanly severed.
Finally, they did
Satellite
it.
imagery in the
Clean.
immediate
So much
aftermath
effort.
revealed the apocalyptic extent of the damage. In the hours that followed, US and Israeli forces carried out countless additional airstrikes and bombing runs
Still
on Iran's
continue.
air defenses, radars, military compounds, and other important infrastructure. Those that remained of the regime scrambled to form a temporary 3-person council to demonstrate some semblance of control. They elected Mojtaba Khamenei as their new supreme
New
leader.
leader.
A decapitation strike on day one of a war is the ultimate military checkmate. This is the same perfection Vladimir Putin expected when he ordered the invasion of Ukraine. He expected a flawless 60-second victory. He walked directly into a bloodbath.
Oh,
Khamenei was not aware what was happening around him, and the time he used to give for outside work was so less. He knew that his life was at stake, and he used to stay in that bunker for a long time. But like, Israelis just waited and waited and waited, and Americans were also behind them. So because of which there were two best intelligence agencies working together and communicating with each other.
Yeah, definitely. When two such intelligent agencies would come together, this is the result. And imagine how much time this would have took to, process it all out, all the planning and plotting, because just he was this close. And even if there was, like, as he said, in today's era, these guns and these all weapons are not it, but the data, but the artificial intelligence, these are the things that are the major role in this war.
Actually, it just took 60 seconds. So, what do you guys think about it? Do let us know in the comment section below. So, do like, share, and
Subscribe.
bye.
Bye.